sorry for the long setup. I promised you that the recording that we're going to publish is going to be great though. We have a lot of cameras, a lot of stuff here that we prepared this time. So thank you so much for coming, and we have some really exciting stuff to share with you. I'm Pavel, I'm the DSC lead for 2024-2025.
Hi guys, I'm Abiro, and I'm the Senior Vice President, and I'm working besides Pavel.
Yeah, so we have a lot of interesting announcements for you guys. We have some food, we have some very exciting guests, and let's get right into it. Okay, so if anything breaks, don't boo me, because, yeah, I will cry. We're gonna skip the video because we have no sound, so whatever. This is us. This is our branding and editing. If you guys never seen us before on campus. So this is a little bit about us, right? So I'm Pavel, the first one. Avirup is the VP. We have here with us today a very special guest, Brian Wilt from Waymo, and we're going to have a Q&A session with him where you will be able to ask questions. We're going to have a nice fireside chat, talking about technologies, talking about AI, self-driving cars. You guys all see them on the streets of Phoenix. Really exciting. And we have Ananai, who is helping us tremendously here to set up, and who is actually the original DSC founder. And speaking of founding DSC, this year, we are turning 5 because we were established in 2019 by Anna and we're one of 2,100 chapters around the globe. You can see all of these bids are actually real. They're not really up to date. I checked yesterday and they actually added a lot because last year we had 1,700. Now we're already at 2,100. So, kind of nice. So what do? As an organization, we have a lot of, oh my God, no. Please work. Please.
Oh.
That's Anna too. Yeah. That's him. Yeah. The founder. It's like an icon in your car so you don't crash. Yeah, we still crashed. So I don't know, Anna. Maybe you're the founder, but okay, maybe you are a good icon. I don't know. You kind of, God gave up, God taketh kind of situation. Maybe I should go into stand up. At least I don't have to have slides with me. Anyways, so why join GDSC? I know that there are a lot of freshmen here, a lot of graduate students. Graduate students, stick around. We have very interesting things for you. But if you're a freshman and you just got into college, engineering, I would assume, even though everyone is welcome, you guys are asking, what is GDSC? What do we do? What do you gain from us? So there are a couple of really good reasons to join us. And first of all, everyone is welcome. Any level of experience, any level of your interest in computer science, if you're just starting and you want to see how it goes and then you're thinking of quitting when you go to DSA, or you're very excited about it, you don't know where to start because you're fresh off of high school, or maybe you're a marketing major and you just want to see what the hype is all about. What's AI, what's machine learning, etc. Everyone is welcome, and everyone will get the bits and bytes of information that they need to actually fulfill that interest. And we're doing everything capable and possible that we provide you with all the resources that you need to, first of all, get inspired. That is our goal, to inspire you about computer science, because computer science outside of the classroom, outside of ASU, is a very, very exciting field. However, it's not only exciting, it's also difficult. And difficult not only because of, again, data structures, algorithms, a lot of math, linear algebra. It's difficult because it requires of you more things than just sit in front of your computer and look at code. And we help you guys with, first of all, finding the technologies that are relevant right now for you, that will actually be used at your workplaces if you want to work at a modern company when you graduate. We teach you the principles of how the workspace actually works in the current industry that we're having. You know that the situation is quite unstable right now in the market, so it's very important to know what's happening. What's going to be the next big thing? What should you go into? What should you not go into? We're here to tell you and help you navigate those waters. And most importantly, our goal is to bridge the gap between theory and practice, because ASU, even though we do have some practice, is mostly theory. All of those classes, they teach you what is behind the computer screen, what is inside the processor, what is inside of an algorithm. We teach you how to apply those things, how to make them work for you, how for you to not die of boredom while working on them, because they are actually very exciting. And most importantly, how you can bring your ideas that you wish existed to life. Because that's what we're all here for. We're not here to code backends and databases all day. We're here to potentially change the world. So, Ivan is going to tell you a little bit about our previous endeavors at ASU.
As Pavel actually said, computer science is a tough field. So one of our pivotal goals is to transform the traditional learning methods. Like we've all been there, some of us here are freshmen, grad students, no matter what grade you are. Some of us, you might also not be from computer science, because people are, enticed by technology. They're like interested by it, or like, they're intrigued by technology mainly. So our main goal is to, bring the traditional learning methods and then try to bridge the gap between theory and practice. That's what we do in our events. And one of the things about our events is that we host hands-on workshops. Hands-on workshops are one of the most important, or like you can say, critical part of our club. These are essentially the events where the magic happens. You just bring your laptop, sometimes you don't know the stuff. We have hosted several hands-on events and workshops like Intro to iOS App Dev, HTML. We'll hosted Intro to Firebase. And these events have been like big hits. The thing about these events is that we have like a classroom that promotes networking and collaboration. Essentially, you can say that we have TAs in the classes. Now, all our club members, they're working very hard to provide the slides, the content, and the topics that we essentially host the workshops on. These people are capable of telling you what you exactly need to do to make your project working or your code working. Next slide. So, some of our previous workshops have been iOS app development, Android app dev, Firebase, machine learning, and they have been like a very big hit. Some of them have been on advanced topics as well, as you can see Docker, containers, and like Flutter. And one of our workshops was actually on Intro to iOS app development, which was like a major hit, I can say. One of the students which attended Intro to iOS app dev, they actually won this Devil's Invent hackathon at ASU. It was back in spring, actually fall 2022, if I remember very correctly. And when I hosted that workshop, it was a huge hit, I would say. And a lot of people within that workshop, they were able to publish their iOS app. That was like one of the biggest things that we did in that event. And we would say that we are proud of what we do just because of people like these. And here's like a video of what app we made for the Intro to iOS app development workshop.
Thank you, Albert. I would like to mention one more workshop that we did. Like Albert said, our most important goal in terms of workshops is a hands-on experience where we guide you to a certain goal that is not a final and complete project, because we can't do that in under 2 hours on a regular Thursday afternoon after school. But we do, first of all, inspire you to look into it more, because we tell you that this technology is relevant, it might be interesting to you, and this is something that the market thinks is, normal for the market. It's good for the market because it's still there. We're aware, we know that companies use it. We know that if you would go to FANG, you would most certainly encounter at least one of these things. So if you're interested, we're interested in explaining it to you, right? So we go through a sample project that we built, just like with the iOS app development. Here's another example that we made, which was the Firebase and Gemini workshop that I hosted last year, which was, again, a hit. A lot of people came, and actually that screenshot that you see there on the right is all of the Firebase extension instances installing. And we actually broke Firebase for a second because like 60 of them were installing at the same time. We actually realized that Firebase does not have a scroll on that screen, so we couldn't even see how many are installing without zooming out. We didn't plan for that. So that was really exciting to see, and the most exciting part about that workshop is that people built this Gemini-powered chat that you can see right there. That's a real screenshot of a Flutter application that people deployed and customized. And I saw the activity on the page even after the event, so I was going back to see how the stats were doing. But people were still building, people were still excited to see what else they can make with this. And this is our exact goal. For you to be able to build something with us, not us building it for you, not us telling you how to build it, us guiding you through building it. Us showing you the technology, you building it with us, and then bringing it home, and potentially, if you'd like and you're interested, expanding on top of it, and maybe even making it to your resume project, which is extremely important nowadays, as always. And I prepared a little bit of a motivational slide for this one, just to clarify what inspires us to do what we do. It's a saying that I saw on Twitter, actually. Create things that you wish existed. Because there are a lot of things that do exist right now, even more with AI and how easy it is to build new stuff. But all of you guys, you have ideas. I know you do. Something. You always have done something. You know, people say, build projects for your resume. Build projects to show something, right? And it's like, I think even applications exist to like recommend you stuff to build. And it's difficult. It's really difficult to come up with something. But from my experience talking to people, I think that everyone has something, even if it's a minuscule thing you want to change, you should just do it. Especially right now where Claude or ChatGPT can code it for you in like 5 minutes. You can just do it, right? Do not be ashamed to use that, except for classes, that's violations and stuff, so don't do that. But for your personal projects, as long as you realize that you're bringing some idea to life, and as long as you know that you will be improving on top of it, just do it. Like seriously, just nothing is stopping you, right? Especially nowadays. So what do we bring to you, right? Because again, all of this can be taught on YouTube, all of this can be taught by Claude itself. Just explain to me how to build A to do B, right? It's pretty easy. What do we bring to the table? We're bringing a couple of things. First of all, we hear about your ideas. Claude is telling you how to implement them. We want to give you feedback. We want to listen to you. And you will see that in the announcement of the first workshops that we're going to have. We want to listen to your ideas. We want to tell you not if they're like good or not if they're, we don't like them or, they're great and awesome and they should apply to YC, even though we would, absolutely. But it's, can you build it and how can you build it? Our idea is to guide you through, first of all, inspiring you that yes, this idea matters. Second of all, explaining to you how to bring this idea to life, how to show it to people, how to make it usable, how to add functionality to it, how to deploy it, how to show it to your parents, friends. Next is to guide you in real life, because there are multiple things that Claude can miss, that GPT can miss, is the most relevant solutions, the most non-outdated packages that don't have vulnerabilities, etc., etc. And the last thing is networking. Networking is essential for this profession. Unfortunately, I know that most of us are very introverted, but networking is essential. You will probably not achieve anything without networking. This is a harsh statement, but it is true. And the reason we have roundtables here today is, first of all, because it's a nice layout, but second of all is because we want to promote this collaboration with you guys. We're never going to make you stand up and say 3 fun things about yourself or, reply to 2 discussions posts. No, post 1 and then reply to 2, and it's going to be like, hey, N, I really like your thought on A. It's interesting how you noticed B. And then you see like the rest of the replies and it's like the same thing. I love it. What are the teachers who are trying to do with that? It's like, the theory of dead internet, like we're creating it there. With like AI just replying to themselves. Like that's how it feels. Crazy stuff. But yeah, our idea is to make you network. So our idea is for you to see that there are other people like you, because you guys, all of you are in this room today with us. Which means that something motivated you come here. Your degree, your interest, Google in our name, food, but still, something unites you. And we want to give you the opportunity to see like-minded people, because we have a lot of great like-minded people at ASU that want to create new things, that want to explore new possibilities. Or if you just want to make friends, It's hard. I was a freshman. It's hard. I was actually a transfer student, which was even worse. I didn't know anyone, yet I knew the courses. So I was like bored, and I didn't have friends. So it's not great, trust me. And the connections that you make at college matter so much, because all of you guys are going to go to different companies, different places, different jobs. And the connections that you make here is still at the moment where something chains you together, something unites you. The homework that is due tomorrow, the exams, everything is going to disappear after you graduate. But those connections that you make here, because of those chains that connect you, are going to matter so much. Because you guys are going to do great things. And it's great if you keep that connections together and you are able to collaborate, you're able to still explore new opportunities, etc. So our goal is to connect you guys here. And this is our 2024 workshop schedule, just a little sneak peek. We're still working on it, but this is the raw outline of it, and we're very excited to share it with you in full. So we're starting with the ideation and wireframing, which is happening very soon. I'll tell you soon how soon. We're going to teach you Figma. We're going to teach you how to compose your projects and ideas on paper, how to present it to others, how to communicate on that, like figure out what the layout should be, figure out how to wireframe it, which is, by the way, an insanely important skill that I'll tell you at all of the workplaces that I have ever been, and I've been to 5, which was internship or work. I skipped a year at previous school just to work, so trust me on this one. When you say that you know wireframing as a computer scientist, as a person who just codes, people go nuts. People go crazy. People are like, you can open this and you can like make the screen for me, like here, and I can show it to someone else. Insane skill to have. Just that you not only can write code, but like also ideate something and present it in a good form, especially when you're asked to build a feature. And you create a couple of whatever, like blocks on Figma, or a couple of screens, and you show it to people, people will go nuts. You will get that promotion, trust me. And this is also great for you when you're starting the project, just to talk a little bit about it with your friends, family. It's better to always have something that is set in stone. And when you will be working on app development, if you want to go into software development, you will always deal with Figma, and clients will share it with you, and you will see that something cannot be implemented, then you will see that you don't have the view access, and then you're going to be like on a meeting, hey, Anthony from design, could we just get access to this one? And they're like, oh, Anthony is actually on a vacation. And then next week comes and you're like, where's Anthony? And they're like, oh, we just gave you access yesterday, did you see? And you go and check and it's like still not there. And it's like, other week, oh, where's Anthony? Oh, Anthony actually quit. And you're like, what? So it's just better to do it yourself, honestly. Yeah, so that's the first one. Then we're gonna have a beautiful collaboration. Again, on that a little bit later, with another club for the Git management session. Again, very essential if you're in 360 and you just endured pain of like, what was it, Eclipse? Don't think that GitHub is like that. GitHub is not like that. GitHub is extremely simple. What they make you do that, it should be considered torture. Like seriously, illegal. We're gonna teach you some better stuff. Then we're going to move on to front-end basics. You can see that a lot of things are actually grouped here together. And that is for a reason. Because as you saw, we already have stuff on iOS development, Android, Flutter, everything you could wish. So you can just go on our website, asudSC.com, check it all out. It's all there. With slides, with videos, with activities. It's all there, so there is no reason for us to repeat it. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to introduce you to basics. Graduate students don't think that basics are basic. Basics are very interesting because we teach you the stuff that is not just, build it. It's how should it be built. For example, you guys probably know HTML, and if you're a freshman, you probably, unless you're cracked, think that, HTML is just place any tag anywhere, it's gonna work. But everything can be actually divided into columns and rows, which is a very, very simple strategy of building layouts. And grids, of course, but grids are also columns and rows. So technically, you can have a nested layout that only has columns and rows inside. And actually, a lot of frameworks work like that. And HTML does not promote that, like, by default, because it's all. But yeah, this is one of those things that once you understand, you will be able to create beautiful UIs and understand how to build front end. It's not just, putting it into Claude and being like, okay, yeah, it works, cool. It's understanding what is behind it. So once you're asked to build yet another application for your resume or for your class or for your job, you will see that, oh, okay, I know this is a row, this is a column, and I usually put this search in a column, and then there is a row on the right side. Regardless of frameworks, all of these listed there, Next.js, Android, React, and Flutter, all of them use the same stuff. All of them do. And you guys will be able to do this. And as to backend basics, teaching you APIs, how to connect to databases, how to use LLMs, which is important nowadays. Everyone has to pay OpenAI because that's what we do nowadays. And then the last one is going to be deployment. And this is going to be about CI/CD, about pipelines, Vercel, gotta pay money to Vercel too, unfortunately. And just intro to publishing applications and showing it to your friends. Now, we're going to have banks of ideas for you guys. If you don't have anything that you want to build right away, we're going to have banks of ideas. And during all of those sessions, we will build something, just like we used to do, with you together during that session. So you will still come home with a finished project, which you will be able to build on top of later. But after that session ends, which we're going to be a little shorter with it now because we have more abstract things that we're covering, we'll help you to re-enable the projector, but at least the microphone works. Yay, blue light. Okay, this is romantic, I like this. One of our colors, by the way, too. Nice. So, I'm feeling this. But yeah, essentially, you will be able to stay, and we will help you build the project that you either chose from our bank of ideas or from your head. So we'll help you, we'll assist you, we'll provide you with the knowledge on top of the stuff that we learned in the classroom during the lecture, which is going to be about the project itself. We're going to just focus on you. And you guys can work in groups, you can work alone. We'll, of course, attend to everybody. We have a lot of technical officers with great knowledge. So, yeah, these are the workshops for this year. We're really excited for that. The naive me just made a swipe on my phone to change the slide, yet the blue changes to blue. So, yeah. I guess they're fixing it there, so. I get a moment to yap even more, which is amazing. I actually have a great announcement after this slide, which is a new type of sessions we have for you guys this year. Very exciting for grad students, very excited for freshmen too. But, if you guys see this, there's a sneak peek. But everyone who has like negative 1.5 eyesight, sorry. But, yeah, there's text, so if you guys want a reader, I will be the reader. Let's try. Sorry about this. The venue, Sarita always says that, like, we will find you for this, we will find you for that. I want to find you for this. I need money. Who doesn't? Like, cool, thank you. What is this? Anyways, so we have a new and very exciting session for you guys. A very exciting session time. As you might know, our workshops are bi-weekly, so we host them every 2 weeks. But now, in the meantime, during those workshops, we're going to have a new type of session. So basically, you're going to be with us every week now. And this type of session is called Wireside Chats. Not Fireside, but Wireside because they're by the wire. Naming, baby. But yeah, they're basically casual conversations in very relaxed settings. I don't know why I'm reading this because I wrote this. Technically, I dated this one. I don't know. But I'm just going to continue doing that because this is cool. Oh man, this 2 a.m. writing just hits different. It's crazy. I should be one, right? Yeah. Crazy. You see, this is making me be one. Like this will be my origin story, how I became one.
Yeah, this one blue screen.
Just the blue screen of death. Yeah, literally. This is like
crazy.
Like one blue screen of death makes Wireside famous. One blue screen of death makes Pavel famous. So there you go. Can we have a round of applause for it? Okay, we're gonna do this. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna, and look how I don't even need a mic. Okay. And you're hearing me. So we're gonna switch to the Fireside Chat because that doesn't need the blue screen of death. And we're gonna start serving you pizza and samosa. Who's excited for that? I don't see the excitement. All right, so let's get started with the Fireside Chat, and they're gonna continue with their stuff once we have the projector. So let's get mics to that. And once again, you don't need to get up.
Sure.
Cross department thing. So my advisor had a joint appointment in the applied physics department and in the biology department, and we were building these like tiny microscopes that you would mount on the head of a mouse, and it would behave, and you could see like individual neurons inside of the mouse's brain, and while it was like, performing a behavior or navigating a maze or doing something. And I feel my advisor was crazy. This was a really hard project. So like he had these like world-class neuroscientists who could like do a surgery on a mouse, and he had like world-class people in optics who could make a microscope. So people like Code 5, there's like a really great optics program here at ASU. Then what he really did was like when you would do these recordings, you're getting like individual photons that are coming out of these fluorescent dyes. And like when you look at the recordings, they basically just look like white noise. So this is in like the late 2000s. And at the time, like data science wasn't really like a thing. Like it was very new. So I got myself in a position where my job was really as like a data scientist. So we were getting these recordings that were like very low signal to noise, and we were using like PCA, like principal component analysis, and ICA, which is independent component analysis, to try to isolate the cells and to be able to like increase the signal to noise ratio. So I was kind of able, like in my PhD program, to like, it was born out of like optics and lasers and what have you, but I was able to kind of like twist it into like a data science program for myself, so I could kind of like get the skills that I wanted in order to get the job that I wanted. And it sort of happened to be like very fortunate to like catch this rising data science wave when I was looking for my first job.
Nice. So you mentioned that you really turned yourself into a data scientist while doing your physics PhD. I saw on your LinkedIn that you worked at Meta as senior manager in the data science division. It mentioned data science over there too. So could you talk a little bit about your time at Meta? What team were you on? What you did there?
So I can kind of follow the story through to that point. So like I graduated, I was doing data science. Just to kind of tag on to the story about networking, I volunteered as a volleyball coach in the area.
Oh, nice.
And a bunch of the parents worked in technology in the Bay Area. So spoke to a lot of them about how they knew that I was graduating, and interviewed at one of their companies, got a job that was in Intuit, and he was a data science manager there. So like, I got my first job just by like knowing a parent of one of the kids that I coached.
Oh, wow.
Which was slightly terrifying, but like really helpful like in getting my first job. Then like went from being a data scientist at Intuit to Jawbone, where I was leading sort of all of data and analytics. Jawbone was it's kind of like Whoop. It was like a fitness tracker company. And then Facebook reached out. They were, I mean, it seems crazy because like they were founded when I was in college. But it was 14,000 people at the time. Now it's well over 100,000.
Wow.
And they were looking for people who, Facebook has a really strong analytics backbone. Like everything is really backed famously on like strong A/B tests. Like they have many users. They have a lot of data, so they can very easily run these like giant A/B tests of like a million users get one experience, a million users get another experience. Compare them. Where they needed help and they were interested in me was there are some things that you can't necessarily run experiments on. So I joined a team that was more like on the econometrics side. So like, again, just like looking for people with a really strong kind of math background and statistics background, who would be able to like, I think my last project at Meta before I left was Facebook ran their first Super Bowl ad, and they needed help to like measure like what the impact was of that ad, like how many people are going to join Facebook, how many people feel about Facebook, which was really important at the time. But it's not something that you can A/B test. Like you can't decide like, you know, this group of people are going to get our ad, and this group of people aren't going to get it. You know, the whole country is just going to see this ad at one time, but they also can see it on YouTube and what have you. So just designing like statistical methods to try and measure like what was the impact and like what did we get for the tens of millions of dollars that we just spent on this Super Bowl ad.
Makes sense. So do you think that helped them raise further rounds? What do you think they get out of collecting that information, like doing A/B testing on ads? That still happens? That still happens. Definitely happens, right? On a very large scale now. But back in the day, do you think this was a very pressing thing? Because now it's a very pressing thing. Right now, you know, a huge chunk of spend is allocated based on that. So back in the day, do you think it was a big deal for them?
Yeah. So when I just like, I think that the first wave of data scientists, there were sort of like these two big tracks. One was like the internet at scale. It was like the first time that you could start to run these types of tests where in the past, like they would talk about, there's an acronym for it, but it's like, you know, basically the highest person in the room, highest paid person in the room is the one who's calling the shots of what we should do.
Yeah.
I'm sure if it was nice, but
Yeah.
there's been this like great leveling of like what to do, right? To giving like a platform for like really anyone to sort of test an idea that they have. And I think that it's also opened up this world where like you can sort of like monotonically improve a product because you know you're not just guessing of like is this better or not based on just like how it makes you feel. You can actually see like the impact on like real people. So there's been, I was just hanging out with a friend who was at Google. There's this infamous like 47 Shades of Blue experiment that Marissa Mayer famously ran, where they tested the color of the blue links on Google.
Right.
And like it kind of became like cool to like brag on this as like this is where data science has gone amok. You talk to the people that worked on it, and they're like, we made $1 billion.
Wow.
By just adjusting the color of the blue to be like a little bit higher contrast to get more people to click through on those ads. And like, that's the type of thing that like just like before it just would have been a random VP or just a random decision, as opposed to like, no, like there's a real impact here. It's a lot of money.
Right.
And I guess there's a second flavor of data science at the time that was like, predominantly around like we have all this data, we can use it to make the product experience better directly. So this is like friend recommendations or like connection recommendations that you get.
Right.
So like, you know, we talk about closing triangles. Like if you have 3 people and these 2 people know each other and they know this person, then maybe these 2 people know each other as well.
Right.
And like recommendations and feeds, like the TikTok algorithm, just like how we can use the data of how people are interacting with a product to directly improve the user experience. So I think like all those things were kind of coming together in the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Nice. Yeah.
Apologies for interruption. I was just going to say, whenever you guys are ready, we have questions from the students.
Yeah. So if you can just give me like the iPad and I can just pick questions from that. But before that, let's move on to your role at Waymo. So you currently work on a tool called it's called Planner. Could you tell us more about Planner?
Yeah. So I joined Waymo about 3 years ago. It's been a really amazing kind of ride from 15 cars in Chandler when I joined. To deploying in San Francisco, and now like in most of Phoenix, it's growing in Los Angeles, and we just announced that we're going to be launching next in Austin, Texas, and Atlanta. So the way that Waymo works at like a very high level, first of all, there's this offboard software, and that's things like there's a lot of people who work on, we have a simulator, so you can make a software change on data that we've collected from the roads, and you can see the impact of that change. As well as like the people who like make the app, and like Waymo also has like what I would call like a relatively basic version of like Uber. So like you can hail a car and it'll match you to a car. If the car is broken, like they can send it back to base. They have like all of this smart like matching and fleet management that they built. So that's off-board. On the onboard side, so this is the software that runs like directly on the cars. And it's sort of broken down into there's perception. So that's taking all of the sensors that are on the car that maybe some of you have seen. So there's LiDAR, there's camera, and there's radar, and there's even microphones in the cars. So there's a perception team that takes all of those LiDAR points and camera images and turns that into like perception objects, they call them. And so this is like there's a car here, there's a dog here, there's a curve here, just all the features of what's going on in the scene. From there, we take those perception objects, and I'm part of a team called Planner, and that takes those and decides like where should we drive the car. And Planner it's very, when they originally were building Waymo years and years ago, It was basically just like C++ code. And increasingly, Waymo has come to rely more and more on deep learning. So the original deep learning was all in perception, so that's like where like ImageNet and Alex stands. So this really helped make the first version of Waymo work. The next version of Waymo has been integrating deep learning into the planner side. So for example, a large part of my job is we have people who have driven the cars. So we get like manual demonstrations of how to drive a car. And then we build a deep learning model that takes in all the features of the scene, all the features of what's around you, and it makes a prediction using machine learning of like where would a human driver have driven based on everything that's going on in the scene. And those models now are driving an increasing amount of the iterations that the car drives. So I work on the machine learning team inside of Planner that builds those, we call them behavioral models, that make predictions about what other agents are going to do in the scene and what we should do next in the scene.
Nice. So those prediction models, are they running on device? Is the next move being predicted on device? And how much data are you chunking through? Because you're using LiDAR, so there's like, I think you wrote exabyte scale data. But like on device, it must be lower than that, right?
Yeah. So everything's running on the car. So that's a really important thing. Thank you for pointing that out. So the cars, you can't really rely on an internet connection. I'm not sure how many of you have like worked on applications that are trying to do like real time like work like over the internet. Like the internet is very finicky. Like you can't rely on it, and you especially can't rely on it in like a critical disengagement. So like a critical disengagement is like if someone doesn't intervene in this situation in the next like 100 milliseconds, like 10th of a second, the car is going to crash. So you really need to like have solved everything up to like 10 seconds of not crashing to have like a level 4, like an actually autonomous car with no one behind the wheel. So there's a very large computer. We call it the BFC. We say it's a big fancy computer. I don't think that's what it actually says. But that's running in the trunk of the Jaguar. And it's crunching, it's a very specially designed computer that is taking in almost 40 sensors and is taking in all of those inputs in real time and making those predictions. And one of the interesting constraints of designing a system for a self-driving car is that everything has to run at about 1/10 of a second because that's like very roughly like what a human reaction time is, and that's like kind of how like all roadways are designed, and they're anticipating they're going to have like roughly that reaction time. But then on the offboard side, so those cars are driving, they collect a lot of data, they upload that data into Waymo's cloud. I was just at a summit back in Mountain View last week, and someone mentioned, I had no idea, they were like, the Waymo dataset is larger than the Google search index.
Oh, wow.
So like it's a huge amount of data, and it, in many ways like we live and breathe off of Google infrastructure, but in some ways like we break it a lot and are constantly having to like, please fix this for like our scale, and often helping them as well.
Nice. So since you're doing prediction models, I think you would know why this isn't still there. Why doesn't a Waymo go on a freeway right now in Phoenix?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, and I think it's like...
And how long before?
Yeah, so the amazing thing about freeways is, like, I have Tesla FSD, I have a Comma AI like in my car now, and you know, sure, like you can drive on the freeway and it can keep in the lanes and just drive like relatively normally. And some of the original, I think when they were originally working on Waymo, some of the first products that they built was they wanted to build basically autopilot, and they have a lot of videos of them driving on freeways, and they famously conducted this experiment where they gave it to a bunch of Googlers, and they said, you can borrow our Waymo car and ride, and people, but they were like, you have to pay attention. And people, someone fell asleep, someone's doing their makeup, someone's eating lunch, and they, at the time, like they became pretty convinced, like we have to make this like fully autonomous or bust. And I think that, so we do we call it rider only. So this is driver out on the freeway here in Phoenix. It's at a relatively small scale, it's like employee only. And they just started doing it in San Francisco as well. But I think the main things that are hard are sort of twofold. Like one, the stakes are much higher. So when you're on a surface street, if you have a problem, the car can pull over to the side of the road, and like it can get help. It can like ping to the cloud and say like, you know, tell me what to do. Worst case, like someone can come and pick it up. When you're on a freeway and the cars around you are going like 65, 70, 80 miles an hour, like they are on the 202 and the 101 here, it's much more risky. You can't just necessarily like pull over to the side of the road or stop in lane. So you have to be much more buttoned up in terms of the reliability of the system and your ability to manage in a critical failure, which do happen, than you would on a surface street. So like, I mean, when you look at like the distribution of crashes amongst humans, I think the majority of the crashes happen on surface streets, but I think the majority of the fatalities happen on freeways. So you just need to be like, really careful. We talk about the long tail. Like the long tail there's crazy stuff in the long tail. Like a barbecue falling off the back of a pickup truck, like at 80 miles an hour on the freeway. And you just drive into it. And like, there's just the amount of things that like happen on the roads and on freeways is intense.
True. So talking about safety, so when I started using Waymo personally, I saw this really startling statistic, which was Waymo has driven 1 million miles without a crash. How do you achieve this statistic? How do you achieve such a milestone? And also, how do other cars, like cars driving in tandem, communicating with each other to make the central model better? How does all that work?
Yeah, so I need to say, first of all, like I'm not, like there's, I think one of the amazing parts about Waymo is there's a safety team. So like safety is part of like the whole culture. But as a software developer, like you need to have like a little bit of a safety net where you know that like I can make a change to the car and how it drives. And then we have like a very specific set of evals that you can run that are able to say like this change is safe. It's not going to cause a problem. So like I kind of operate under that like umbrella and safety net of knowing that like there's a team of experts that are managing our risk profiles of like exactly like what is and isn't safe. I think that Waymo. We just recently passed I think 20 million miles driven. There have been crashes, the majority of which are our fault. And I think what's interesting is like when you start to drive this many miles, and you have an initial goal of like we never want to get into an accident, and what you kind of rapidly find out is that like you can prevent like about half of the accidents, and the rest are like people crashing into you, and like you can get incrementally better, and like I think that Waymo has proven that like it can dodge red light runners, and it can avoid like certain things because it's paying attention in all directions. But I think that the biggest thing that has gotten us to this point is I think that there's this perception that safety is a binary, like something is like this car is safe or it's not safe.
Right.
And I think what we learned rapidly is that it's not necessarily a binary. Have something that's safe for a demo ride, something that's safe for 100 rides, and something that's safe for 1,000 rides. as you continue to get down further into deployment, the types of problems that you need to solve change. You have to go through this sort of gradual increasing of the deployment size. To make sure that you're safe at each, like if we're safe at this scale, then we can solve the problems that were, 1 in a million shot, which are now happening, every week, that you can sort of solve those iteratively.
Makes sense. Someone from the audience asked here, why did Waymo stop working on Class 8 trucks?
So that's a good question. Someone knows what's going on. So I think I think the company had some. So I think the initial thought was that if you want to build a general driver. So we wanted to build a software product that you could take and you could put on a car and have it drive on surface streets. You can put it on a truck. You can put it on a delivery truck, like doing like a box truck that's doing deliveries in San Francisco. And I think what they found out as they began to get into like the actual deployments in San Francisco with ride hail, I think what they realized was that it was really challenging to have these two different like product lines that we were trying to develop at the same time. When doing ride hail in San Francisco is hard enough in Phoenix. So I think what they decided was that we should take a break and focus on ride hail, make it profitable, and make it start to deploy at a level that was like at scale, instead of like half-assing multiple product lines at the same time.
Makes sense.
With something that we could eventually return to.
Makes sense. If roadside, this is also another audience question, if roadside signals are not working, then is Waymo safe or not?
So I think that this is getting at like every day there are like traffic lights go out, and it's something that like I'm on a team. So I wear a couple of hats at Waymo. I'm on a machine learning team that handles all of our data and makes these big behavioral prediction models. I also sit just because it's fun on the rapid response group. So the team that gets to see like a lot of the things that are happening in the field, like where the people get pinged every time something happens. And I think this is getting at like there are traffic lights that go out in every city every single day. Every time that we get monsoons here in Phoenix, half the lights go out like downtown. In San Francisco, they're doing construction every single day. In Los Angeles, I feel like there at some point over the summer, like a bunch of videos of Waymos responding to traffic cops, doing like hand gestures, and it was because there were a bunch of traffic lights that were out. So you have to be able to handle that kind of stuff if you want to be at scale. So like Waymo has had like an intense first research focus, but now like it's in production. Ability to like manage with a traffic cop, or to be able to respond to like being out like just like it's a stop sign if there's not someone present who's trying to manage. So like yes, Waymo is safe
Makes sense.
When a traffic light goes out.
Makes sense. And I'm proud to say that I've been 500 miles plus in a Waymo and I'm still alive. So Waymo is incredibly safe. So there's another question here. NVIDIA's self-driving unit has been largely reliant on using simulations to generate data. What are some downsides to that compared to generating real-world data?
Oh man, these are the hard questions. I'm not an expert in synthetic data. I feel like
you can choose to skip at anything. Pass.
I can say I feel like there's a few things in machine learning that are kind of magic to me, and I don't feel like I understand how they work. One of them is distillation. I feel like I finally understand distillation now, which is like you could take like a large model, like a giant model, like with the latest and greatest of ChatGPT, and then you can use that to train a much smaller model, and that smaller model that you train from the larger model will be better than if you just train directly in a smaller model, which like just seems very strange to me. The other one that I still don't really understand is synthetic data, and how you can. It just feels like this very like. Right, like the hands drawing the hands, like how does this work? I feel like I don't quite understand like how it right. Just feels circular with the simulator. My understanding is that it can work, but at the moment, Waymo is largely dependent on both the manually driven miles that we've accumulated, as well as now this flywheel that we have of all of the driving that the cars are doing in ride-along, which is a much larger corpus than just the miles that you have from the manually driven cars.
Makes sense. This one's an easy question. Is Waymo? This one's an easy question. I promise. Is Waymo looking for interns? And this can be a binary answer. Simple.
Not that I know of, but like check the website. I think it's waymo.com/careers, and maybe Google for internships. Waymo generally hires like more senior folks, as far as I know. It's still like kind of a research project in many ways, so they're looking for folks who have a little bit more experience. But I think that isn't necessarily, that might be the onboard team that I'm most familiar with. Waymo's a pretty big company. There's around 2,200 people, I think, who work there. And there's a lot of opportunities that I may not know about.
Makes sense. What is the estimate cost of a Waymo car, minus the cost of like Jaguar I-Pace, so like the sensors, and all that stuff, because you have a lot of LiDAR on there.
Yeah, so this is getting into the questions that so Takidra, our CEO, was at the All-In Summit last week in Los Angeles, and they asked her the same question. She said that she couldn't answer. In the past, our CEO has said it costs about as much as an S-Class, and he was kind of ambiguous as to like exactly what he meant. So like that's like my rough guidance of like somewhere in like the $150,000 to $200,000 range. But like I don't know if that's like inclusive of the car or just the compute and the sensor suite. And that was several years ago. We're working on our next hardware platform. I think that they're now actually driving around. It's it's kind of like back to a minivan, and it's from this Chinese company called Geely. And they've announced that like that costs like significantly less than the Jaguars that are currently driving around.
They're the new models?
I'm sorry,
Are the new models of the cars the smaller ones that you posted on Twitter?
So there's the Jaguars, which are the 5th generation, and then there's a 6th generation that's going to come out soon. That is like a minivan. It's a little bit.
Oh yes, yeah.
The passenger compartment is a little bit bigger than the Jaguars.
Yeah.
It's just like it's more roomy.
Makes sense. So there's this one tweet that you posted, the screenshot on LinkedIn by Rune, and it says, you are getting laser scanned and uploaded to Google Cloud whenever a Waymo passes within 3 blocks of you. Is that true? No. But is the 3 blocks part true?
Well, I mean, not like past like line of sight. How big is a block? I feel like this is like an interview question. I don't know. I think that we can see about a football field is my understanding, like with the LiDAR.
Right.
But no, it's not. You're not being uploaded.
They are simulating. They are simulating your entire mind and body to predict your next movement. They spin up 1 trillion instances of you in the cloud to run Monte Carlo research. The suffering is infinite, but it's worth it to you if you don't have to talk to the Uber driver.
It's true. You live on in the Google Cloud wallpapers.
Well, I definitely agree with the last part he said here, that you don't have to talk to an Uber driver. And I'm willing to pay up to $5 extra for it. Okay, by the way, who here has been on a Waymo? Like, how many of you, like, let's see the coverage of, oh wait, that's a decent number of people.
Thanks for
if you haven't tried Waymo, I would highly recommend trying it. It looks scary at first, but remember, numbers are king, and all of us are alive. But yeah.
This is called selection bias.
But speaking of LiDAR, how important is it? Like Tesla, Elon Musk is famous for saying, oh, we're gonna ditch LiDAR from Teslas. And I think Tesla FSD is shit. I was gonna almost die in Chicago, like the thing didn't break at night, because they're solely relying on the cameras. So do you think that, like down the line, we can just cut out all of LiDAR and just have cameras do all the work? I just use like CNNs and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be possible at some point, and like I think it's like Moore's law is like a hell of a drug, and like every year there's these incredible scaling laws for the number of pixels that cameras have and the dynamic range and how much compute you get for a fixed price. And there's also these incredible scaling laws for neural networks. The more parameters you have, they tend to improve in performance. So like I think it's inevitable that it'll get there at some point. I don't think anyone has really demonstrated that you can remove the driver without a LiDAR. And I think a lot of what is lost, like so, I'm not sure if I had a car with FSD, I loved it, like it was very useful. I don't think that you can sit in the back seat. Like I think you gotta be there. But like I think that what's tricky is that like LiDAR, a lot of what LiDAR gets you is redundancy, which is something that's really hard to measure. It's not something that you won't notice that you need LiDAR when you go for one ride with FSD, you won't notice when you go for 10 rides. But if you try to ride around at night and there's someone crossing the freeway wearing a dark jacket, you need something like LiDAR or radar to be able to detect something in like that type of situation. So like I think for now, like for normal nominal driving, if you just want to drive during the day and in good weather, the cameras can get you there. But I think that you need these active sensors for kind of off nominal, what I would say, driving. So driving inside, driving in.
So is there any team within Waymo that is even remotely exploring that, okay, we're gonna remove the LiDAR, or are you doubling down on the LiDAR right now and just doubling down and seeing that, okay, can we push safety? Can we go to a freeway? Can we have better coverage?
I think, I feel like this is getting the stuff that is going to get me in trouble. But I think there are teams that are exploring all of using different amounts of the sensors. I think that the main reason we're interested in it isn't necessarily from a cost perspective, which I feel like is like the version of Tesla. I feel like for us, it's mainly we're driving nearly 1 million miles a week at this point. And for us, it's like, sensors fail. And especially like LiDARs, which have like a mechanical element, are kind of prone to failure. And for us, it's mainly about like, can we drive for a limited number of miles in a degraded sensor suite? So like missing one of the LiDARs or missing one of the radars or missing certain sensors. Like I think that ultimately, like you're seeing two models. Like one is starting with the a system that's complete that can drive in a way that's driverless. That maybe is like relatively expensive. I don't think it's prohibitively expensive. Like we do have them on the road. And then you're seeing someone sort of start with like, if I took like a cell phone camera or like a handful of cell phone cameras and like a MacBook. Like how far can I get? And so we're seeing these like kind of converge.
Right. How's the comma one been? How's the comma been doing for you?
It's okay.
No, but like,
Sorry, guys, we're running out of time for Q&A.
no, we're not running out of time.
No, sorry, guys, we have to announce a couple of things first because we're running out of time for the venue too.
Okay.
So we would just like to say a couple of words because we're interrupted when we have the screen up again. So if you guys want to have more questions, just ask Brian after the announcements are done, okay? So,
Wait, just give me one second. Let me answer the current question.
okay,
Yeah.
ask the...
So how's the Comma One doing for you guys? Like you said, smartphone cameras. Do you think that is a future that we would explore towards universal portability of self-driving cars?
Yeah, like, I mean, it's interesting. Like, you can buy a little kit and put it onto many cars, and I mean, I think it kind of like it operates as basically like a base autopilot. I would say in terms of like lane keep. It's not as good as FSD, but it's very useful for like driving in Phoenix if you're just kind of going from intersection to intersection.
Makes sense. Okay. So the rest is all just asking for advice. Like the students want to know, is there any advice for you? You know, if they're a freshman or if they're grad student, any one advice that you would give, one career advice you would give, given like, you know, it's getting harder and harder to get a job these days.
Yeah.
Almost impossible. But is there a field, do you think, that or a certain approach? Because right now everybody's just focusing on doing code problems. So
yeah, I mean, maybe I could say like I wish that I majored in CS. Although I mean physics was very fun, but I would, if I could go back, I think the world, there's a huge demand for people with good computer science skills and coding skills, which are a little bit different. Like computer science being like more like algorithms and machine learning and just like data structures and like the kind of things that like a FANG company is looking for. And I think that like the bit about networking really resonated with me. Like the people that you know that work for these types of companies, you know, talk to them, go try, if you don't know them, meet them, and just like if you have a reference at a company or that you're applying to, it will get your resume. It's much more likely to be looked at. So definitely like make those connections with the people that you know who are in the industry.
Makes sense. Now that you've brought up the networking point, you're gonna get 150 LinkedIn requests once you go home. So I just want to prepare you for that. All right, so let's just conclude it here. Thanks so much, Brian. Can we have a huge round of applause for Brian? Awesome. There's some questions in here for me. I'll just answer them later. Come see me after. I'm just gonna hand it off to Pavel. Yeah, the projector doesn't run every single day, so. Oh my God, my foot went to sleep. Oh.
Everything's all fine, right? We need you. We still need you. Okay, guys. We hope you liked the session with Brian. And I sure hope this doesn't die again. Thank you for your questions, and Brian is still here, and Anna is still here to answer all of them. I just wanted to switch back real quick to the announcement where we got interrupted. So, in terms of the Wireside sessions and chats, this collector is playing games with me today, but I won. So yeah, in terms of Wireside chats, it's going to be a very casual, nice little setting where we'll be talking about the news and emerging trends in technology. For example, new OpenAI models, new job positions, new applications you can do, new frameworks, anything that is rising right now. News from YC, news from Anani's Twitter. He has like 10K followers and they all love him. You know, what is Perplexity doing this week? Everything you need to know to stay in touch with the technological news around the world, to network and be able to connect with people because, well, everybody's following that. That's like our kind of social media stuff. So we're here for you to guide you through this and for you to meet other people. So please join us. Our first session is going to happen next week. And just real quick, a couple of special announcements. First of all, I am extremely excited to announce that we are co-hosting OpportunityHack this year with Meta and Spotify. It's happening on October 12th and 13th, so it's a Saturday and Sunday, I believe. And please come. We're going to have our mentors there helping you out. I'm going to have a slide with a QR code right after this slide where you can actually register to participate. Really cool prizes, amazing nonprofits, and you can actually get your project implemented into nonprofits infrastructure and make real impact. It's really cool. Apart from that, we have 2 really exciting co-hosted events with Google. First one is called Cloud Hero. It's going to be a hackathon type event hosted in Senator Ballroom on October 16th in the evening. We're going to share more details soon, but it's really cool. It's speaks from Google, swag, prizes, food. It's going to be really nice. The second one I can't talk about yet, but it's going to happen on October 17th, also really exciting, also by Google. Then we're going to have a speaker from that in October, and we have a secret speaker also in November from the industry. Now, as for this slide with OHAC, there's the QR code you guys can scan if you want to participate, and it's hack.ohack or just ohack.dev if you guys want to learn more about it. Again, this is the second week of October. And we'll share this on our Discord channel so you guys will be able to scan it. Apart from this event, we have also a quick announcement from our friends at Sunhacks. Sunhacks is happening this year. It's happening actually next week, so September 28th to 29th. And here's the QR code to join that. Also, very exciting prizes. They're our very good friends, sponsored by a lot of great companies, so be able to talk to company reps and do some networking there. Of course, participate, win prizes, everything like you like it. And a couple of our first upcoming events. Like I said, the first one is going to be Intro to Wireframing and Project Ideation. And it's going to be on Thursday, September 26th. The venue is TBA, but we're going to announce it on Discord on all of our social channels. So that is Thursday, this Thursday, 5 p.m. on campus. The next one is the first Fireside Chat. It's going to happen on Thursday, October 3rd. So as you can see, it's going to be Thursday session with a Fireside Chat. So workshop, Fireside Chat. They're going to alternate. And again, everything is going to be at 5 p.m. At least as of right now, the times might change, the venues might change. And if you guys want to see our previous workshops, what we have been working on, how our club has been functioning before, there's our YouTube channel, and of course there's asugdsc.com to check out all of the other news and previous events and slides. Everything is publicly available for you guys. That's all the announcements we have for now. We're going to publish most of these slides in QRs, and we appreciate you for coming. Thank you so much.
Yeah, just one more thing, guys. So we will be giving out some Google goodies for the students, like who asked questions for Brian and Anane. So we have Arvin Patel, Wilson, Sierra Wilson. Okay, you can come up. You can come up on stage. Yeah. We're just giving out some Google goodies.
Oh, it's private.
Yeah.